Welcome back to Off the Chart Season 2, Gen Q Edition. This season, we're watching the L Word Generation Q with you, bringing your unfiltered take on the new series reboot every Monday, because we still can't get over those LA lesbians. I'm Erica Lenti, senior editor at Xtra, and I still maintain that I killed Jenny Schecter.
And I'm Michelle Turian, managing producer of video at Xtra, and my pickup game is about as good as Finley's. Probably worse.
I've not seen this pickup game, so I'll take your word for it. So episode 2, what stood out to you this week, Shell?
So for me, this episode was all about the consequences from decisions made in the series premiere. Dani took this new PR position with Bette's campaign, but neglected to consult with her fiancé first, which makes Sophie really upset. And then when Dani tells her dad that she's leaving the company and that she's engaged, Papa Nunez is not impressed. Sheng absent-mindedly welcomes Finley into her home, only to have her accept divorce papers that Sheng has been trying desperately to avoid receiving. And after going rogue with Bette Porter's appearance, Alice's TV execs make her hire an annoying, bro-y senior writer. So, Erica, what did you think of episode 2?
Yeah, the episode had me thinking a lot about communication and who needs to know what and what they're trying to avoid. Dani doesn't tell Sophie about her new job working for Bette, and that causes a lot of friction, rightfully, I think. Bette has to unload all these deep, dark secrets, which we will definitely process later on. For the protection of her campaign, Sheng's MIA wifey files for divorce, even though Sheng has been trying to avoid it, as you said. Micah and his new hot neighbor, Jose, they have this sort of awkward start to the date when Jose brings up that Micah's trans. So there's a lot being unsaid in this episode. It's a lot of guessing game here, which is a little frustrating as a viewer, but I guess we'll wait and see what happens next.
They're really stretching it out.
They are, yeah. It's my favorite time of the episode. Let's recap. Shell, start us off with Finley.
Of course. So it appears that Finley has taken up Sheng's offer and is now staying at her place. And while Sheng is away, Finley accepts a package on her behalf, unknowingly serving Sheng divorce papers. Rattled by this exchange, the two decide to go out for drinks, where Finley makes Sheng pay for everything. And then she proceeds to hit on every single woman in the bar with absolutely no game. Until Finley meets Rebecca, played by the amazing Olivia Thirlby. Things get pretty hot and heavy with the two, but they need to pump on the brakes when Finley begins to feel ill. Now, at one point in the show, Finley kind of alludes to only being able to have sex while she's drunk, and we watch her have this somewhat panicked moment when she's making out with Rebecca. So, what's up with Finley?
Yeah, I don't know. This episode made me more interested in Finley than the first, I'll be honest, because as we said in the previous episode, they played off Finley as this sort of goofy, obnoxious kind of character. Right. And this, I think, brings a bit more depth. And I think that we'll watch her grow a bit more. And to me, that's more endearing. I don't know how you felt about that.
I mean, I already found her endearing, unlike many other people on first watch. So I'm a Finley ride or die.
Damn, that's strong.
I mean, I told you, I just I have a strong affinity for her. But what I'm curious to know is what is this reason? Why does she need to get drunk? Why is she awkward with girls? I think that's what we'll see play out as we continue to watch. So, Erica, why don't you tell us about Dani and Sophie?
Yeah, so Dani is starting her first day as head of PR with Bette. Sophie's pretty pissed, and I don't blame her. Dani made a massive career change without even thinking to talk to her fiancé. Red flags. You guys have been engaged for one day. They host a huge engagement party. Sophie's family doesn't seem totally convinced that this is the best idea. I don't know how many times Sophie's mom has to tell her that she doesn't have to go through with this marriage. It's getting it's heavy there. It's all really beautiful and dreamy and all that. I'm not convinced it's going to last or remain this way. But what I found really interesting about the whole engagement party was these depictions of Sophie's large Latinx family. In juxtaposition of what we had seen in the original series with Carmen. What do you think of that?
I have to be honest, I was kind of disappointed in how they've portrayed Sophie's family so far. They seem a little contrived. They seem a little like stereotypes, whereas I felt like when I watched Carmen's family and their interactions, that to me felt authentic. I've certainly can relate to kind of seeing big fam jams where everyone's like talking over each other and like getting ready for dinner. And I just didn't get the same kind of vibe from Sophie's family. What did you think?
Yeah, and I felt kind of the same way. So I'm Italian and I have a huge Italian family. Right. And so watching the scenes with Carmen in the original series where they're all sort of talking around the fact that Carmen's gay and they're with her girlfriend. Like I've been in that situation. Right. I'm always in that situation. So I liked that. I didn't get that same sort of feeling. I agree with you. But I did like that the show, is trying to obviously be more diverse. Mm-hmm. One of her sisters has a disability, so they're trying to have a lot more representation there.
Yep.
So what about Micah?
So Micah and Jose go on their date. It's adorably awkward, as one would expect on a first date. Micah mentions he has something to confess, but when Jose assures Micah that he knows that he's a trans man, Micah actually reveals that his big secret is that he's using a gift card for their very fancy dinner. So it's a little awkward, but despite the miscommunication, they really seem to hit it off, and they end their date making out in the pool. So do you think that the show is setting up Micah to start this exciting new relationship, or are they setting him up to get burned by Jose or burned by Tinder dates or burned by whoever happens to come his way?
I'm really rooting for Micah to have a happy ending.
I think we all want to see that.
Yeah. Especially to bring back the conversation we had last episode about Max, where every single one of Max's relationships ended in darkness and despair and hopelessness. It would be really nice just to see a trans guy and his cis gay partner get along and go through the usual sort of hurdles and obstacles of a relationship, as opposed to things just becoming deeply depressing.
Like a shit show. Like just a nice navigation of what that looks like would be sweet.
Yeah, that would be lovely.
But we'll see what they do. So, Erica, what's going on with Bette Porter?
Yeah, Bette's campaign is in triage. And now that it's known she fucked a married woman who was also an employee of hers in the way that only Bette could,
Of course.
She has to unpack a bunch of not so flattering secrets about herself, including the fact that she cheated on Tina. Angie's still pissed off, but she's forced to join Bette at the campaign office because she skipped school with her friend Jordy. But in the end, Bette ends up on top of, everything in the episode. She speaks to an LGBT center and her empathetic conversations there go viral. Someone films them, of course. Yay, Bette, except she ends up meeting up with Felicity, the fling, again. There are so many red flags in this episode.
Bette, come on.
Bette. So my favorite part of the episode, in exposing all these skeletons in her closet.
Looking ahead, is there anything else I need to know? Meaning? Is there anything else people could use against you?
Bette tells Dani that Jenny killed herself at her house in 2009.
Right.
10 years later, we finally have Jenny clarity. How do you feel about it?
I have so many feelings around Jenny.
Yeah.
I think a part of me had really hoped that Mia Kirshner would come back as Jenny Schecter in some way, shape, or form, whether it was in a flashback even. But I don't think that's going to happen. My hopes are dashed.
Yeah. When we were discussing how Jenny died and all that in our season 6 recap in the first season, we all kind of agreed that we thought Jenny killed herself. So it's nice to have closure. The fans finally have closure after 10 years. Yay, Jenny. Alice, what's going on with her?
So the cold open is a flashback to 2 years ago when Alice and Nat were first dating, and we are introduced to Nat's ex-wife, Gigi, played by Sepideh Moafi, where she goes completely bonkers on Nat in the middle of the night, leaving her wedding ring nailed to the front door. Fast forward to 2019, Alice is pleased with Bette's appearance on her TV show, but her TV execs don't agree, so they hire this senior writer, Drew Wilson, who has a lot of experience, but his silly ideas are not in alignment with Alice's vision. So Alice gets pulled away from the office unexpectedly when her stepson Eli gets sent home from school for being sick. And then later that night, Alice and Nat have an argument about the kids. And Alice basically tells Nat, I want you to believe that I am capable of caring for these children. We end with Alice and Gigi having a very nice heart-to-heart about parenting. So, what do we think of Alice Pieszecki being a stepmom?
I'm going to say it again. Shane's a better stepmom.
We know that.
Yeah.
Shane aside, how do we think Alice is handling this?
I think she's doing pretty well. I wouldn't let a kid puke in my crock pot necessarily.
He's gonna blow any second. Crock pot! Yes, a crock pot! Oh, God!
But I think by comparison to the first episode where, you know, in the opening of the episode, and Alice is like, oh, we're still waving at them or whatever, right? She seemed kind of annoyed.
Sure.
She seems a little bit more empathetic and a little bit more warm toward the kids, especially Eli. So that was kind of nice to see. It seems like she's done a lot of growing up, which I like.
Yes, yes. And like it's becoming clear to me that like Alice really loves Nat and her kids are part of the package, right?
Yeah.
So if she wants to make it work, she has to make it work with them as well. And we see that she wants that when she has this conversation with Nat. Everyone assumes that Alice is incapable and she's pleading with her partner, like, I can do this, like, just trust me. So I would like to see more interaction with the children in future episodes.
Totally.
So what's going on with our favorite fuckboy?
Sad boy Sheng is sad. So she gets her divorce papers in the mail. She decides to just ignore it because Sheng. Broken Hearts Club, yay. She heads to a bar with Finley. It used to be a lesbian hangout and now it's a sports bar. So she ends up defending a bartender there when she's harassed by this drunk guy. So there's a lot of wheels turning here. Sheng says there's no longer any lesbian bars in the city. She's got a lot of money. What's a rich les to do? TBD. But I really liked, there's a line where Sheng's called the living legend.
Everyone in the city knows who you are. You're like a living legend.
How do you feel about this assessment?
It's been 10 years. Does her reputation really hold up for a decade?
Yeah, and she was married for, like, we're presuming that she's been married for a while. Like, what? I don't know.
I don't really buy.
And Sheng as a living, I don't know. With that haircut still? I don't know. Okay, it's time for our superlatives round. Each week, we'll crown our favorite moments from the episode. It's just like reading through your high school yearbook all over again. Just queerer. Shell.
So the most pretentious moment, of course, is awarded to Bette Porter.
Yeah.
When she casually name drops feminist artist Judy Chicago and her art installation, The Dinner Party. Dani is, getting ready for her first day at work, and she catches a glimpse of a piece of artwork on the wall, and then they have this conversation, and Bette drops her art world knowledge on her. Just so pretentious, so Bette. Honorable mention for best ride or die line goes to Finley when she says to Sheng, I just want you to know that I would help you hide a body. I love this line. I have been saying this line to my BFF for decades. So it really hit home for me.
I loved it. Yeah. I kind of like the Sheng, Finley, like they're
dynamic.
Sort of foils to one another. Yeah. It's nice. Yeah. For me, I'm going with the saddest display of pickup artistry. You know that distinction belongs to Finley. I really, as I just said, I really appreciate the writers contrasting our living legend Sheng to sad puppy dog Finley. So I started kind of watching that scene laughing, and then I ended up like physically uncomfortable in my chair once she got to like the 15th woman in the bar. I liked it. It was funny. Finley needs some more game.
Hi.
I just watched you introduce yourself to 5 other women.
I'm very friendly.
But you know what? I think that Finley's game is just fine because after going through this series of women, she finally ends up at Rebecca, who's been watching her hit on like all of these women the whole time. And, she's still around. So she perhaps finds it quite endearing.
I think the bigger question here is what is wrong with Rebecca's judgment? That's it for this episode. Tune in next week for our thoughts on episode 3 and more of Sheng's trademark impulsivity. I'm Erica Lenti.
And I'm Michelle Turingen.
Off the Chart Generation Q is produced by Michelle Turingen. Our executive producer is Rachel Giza, and our music is by Kid Kulit. If you like what you're hearing, please review us on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts, and feel free to get in touch with us on Twitter at Xtra Magazine. Until next time.
Yeah, girl, I know who you are. Everyone in the city knows who you are. You're like a living legend.